This is Midday Live. Let's move on to our stories. And the Bureau of National Investigation, BNI, has arrested 3 former South African police officers in the Central Region for allegedly engaging in acts that threaten the country's security. The 3 men, 54-year-old Major Ahmed Haziz, retired, and 39-year-old W.O. Denver Nadu, retired, and 45-year-old Captain Jokani, retired, were picked up on Sunday, March 20, 2016 at El Capitano Hotel in Aguna Dunkwa in the Central Region. The trio, all ex-police officers, were engaged in training 15 young men in various military drills, including unarmed combat, weapon handling, VIP protection techniques, and rapid response maneuvers, according to the BNI documents. Now, Aziz, the leader of the 3, has reportedly disclosed to BNI officials that they were brought into the country by one Captain Koda, head of security detail for the NPP flag bearer Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Now, according to the BNI documents, the trio were conducting the security drills on pretext that the men were being trained for Delta Force security owned by Captain Kwesi Akwa, retired, and the El Capitano Hotel, where the 3 former South Africans ex-servicemen were staying, is also owned by Captain Akwa, retired. Now, to help us discuss shortly, we will be trying to reach a security expert to give us his take on this issue. But we're still trying to reach him via phone. When we do get him, we'll speak to him and take his thoughts on that very issue. Remember, you can get interactive. Send your comments on our social media platforms. Facebook and Twitter is News on TV3. Let's move on to other stories. And President John Dramani Mahama is urging the Global Share Alliance to reconsider the pricing of share nuts within the West African sub-region. Well, before we take that story, go back to our earlier story that has to do with the South African ex-servicemen who are in the country. And I do have via phone Dr. Kwesi Enin, a security expert. Good afternoon, Doctor, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Doc, first of all, I'm sure you've heard about this issue, and what's your take on it?
Well, I think it raises quite a number of disturbing issues. One, what is our capacity to, evaluate the people or people who apply for visas to come into our country, number 1. Number 2, what is the nature of relationship between political parties and the official state security apparatus? Because there's a lack of trust, and which I find extremely disturbing. Political parties then decide to use all kinds of quasi-security organizations to provide protection during rallies and for their senior people. And I think within the context of the situation that we find ourselves, this can be quite disturbing if it's not controlled and controlled properly. So this raises quite some fundamental issues that we need to talk about.
And now, Doc, times without number, and I've even spoken to you regarding this election year, and you have mentioned that we need to beef up and up again when it comes to security. But early on this year, sometime this year, the police service did interact with various political parties on measures that they were going to take. Now, this has developed, and you have touched on this briefly in your earlier statement. Should more be done? Just meeting them, is it just enough to just meet them and tell them that we're doing this and rolling out these plans? What really should be done critically to ensure that some of these things don't really crop up again?
Well, what is that, there's a limit to what the Ghana Police Service can do. And I think what IGP John Kudalo is doing in terms of sending clear signals that he will not tolerate the Bamba boys, Azoka boys, Invincibles is one part of it. The second part relates to the quality of our political party engagement. Politics is about shared norms and shared values and shared principles. And none of these political parties have told us that they believe in the use of violence. And therefore, going much forward, political parties must link their rhetoric about supporting what the IGP seeks to do, because all of them supported him when he met them, so that it must translate into reality. The third point relates to my earlier comment about the nature of the relationship between security agencies and then party political people. If you don't trust the security agencies right now, if you win power, how do you build trust? So there's something much more fundamental around state institutions and the way they perform and treat those in opposition or minor political parties that does not lead to trust building. So we need to find a way to build trust and to ensure that even in opposition, state security agencies provide services that are objective, that are professional, that are trustworthy, that are competent and effective, so that people are not forced to look for alternative means of security provision. That does not help our democracy, and that does not help people to trust the system.
Now, building on what you said about political parties again and the security, now there are reports linking this issue surrounding what we've seen connected to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's camp with one Captain Koda. Now, should this really be an issue, or we're just jumping the gun ahead of the security agencies?
I think we should give the security agencies the free hand to do the investigation. Precisely because of the tensions around election 2016, it's important that conclusive statements that may be indicative of certain trends are not made by people in political authority. We should allow the police to do their investigations, and I think we should also have a little bit of trust in the opposition that they will not do anything to undermine this society. So please, let's give the police the opportunity to do the investigations, and let's come out with their report before we commit.
Thank you, Dr. Kwesi. He's a security expert. We're looking at some matters that have risen. An issue came up regarding some South African ex-servicemen who are training persons here in the country, specifically the central region.